Friday night action in the Bundesliga, a comfortable 2-0 victory for Leipzig over Hoffenheim, meaning they are 6 points clear of Borussia Mönchengladbach. Gladbach in action against Bayern Munich this weekend, but with 3 games to go, Leipzig looking good for a Champions League place. Julien Laurens and Frank Leboeuf join us to reflect on this game, which was dominated by Dani Olmo. Jules.
You're right, Dan, especially at the beginning of the game, Leipzig had the best of the first 15 minutes, really, after the penalty turn, first given by the referee and then taken away by VAR, but after that it was all Leipzig, and they also had the last 15, but in between it was more of a contest, and Hoffenheim probably had the better chances as well. They hit the crossbar, they could have easily scored 1 or 2, but overall, I think Leipzig and Dani Olmo, especially in that opening 15 minutes, were just too quick. The way they go forward, as soon as they get the ball back, is incredible. And Olmo with 2 lovely finishes, justifying again the big transfer fee that he got when he moved there in January. But what a prospect he is. Only 22 years of age. And remember, he was in Croatia, Dinamo Zagreb before, but had a lot of experience there, played in the Champions League. And now that was a big move in a much better side, much better club, much better league as well. And he's slowly adapting to Nagelsmann's style and showing how talented he is.
Yeah, the Spaniard, when he first arrived, maybe didn't quite justify that big transfer tag. However, as Jules says, looked great today, Frank.
Yeah, he did. He did, and he made the difference. And as Jules said, you know, the first 20 minutes were mostly after that penalty decision or from the referee, that they took the way they needed to be taken that game, and Olmo scored two good goals to in fact finish the game. Because even if Hoffenheim had chances, as Jules said, they never seemed to be in position to really score a goal, and they could have played maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, and maybe not score. It was a strange game after those 2 goals from Olmo, and I got a little bit bored, except that I saw a beautiful Spanish guy in the midfield of Leipzig's team to enjoy a little bit of my evening.
Frank, I like it took you so long to admit that you were bored. It's all right. You're with us. You can admit it. You don't have to pretend. Timo Werner, meanwhile, since the news linked him to Chelsea, he's got rubbish, Jules.
Yeah, he misses big chances. He still created the goal against Paderborn for Patrick Schick, but overall, you're right. He seems a bit off his game. We saw it tonight again with a huge chance he had to really this time kill off the game at 2-0 up, and he hit it way over the bar. It was not just a near miss. It was quite a bad miss. And I thought even in the second half, he had 2 or 3 good positions and didn't make the most of it, either make the wrong decision by shooting or when he should have crossed or things like that. And I just think maybe the whole uncertainty, well, it's not an uncertainty because he will go to Chelsea, but the fact that he can't really be official yet, he can't do his medical, there's still a bit of talks between the 2 clubs, maybe that's a bit playing on his mind, and maybe that's why we're not seeing the most efficient version of Timo Werner that we've seen earlier in the season, although missing chances is quite his weakness. You know, I think he still has to improve in front of goals, and then he will score even more goals once he makes sure that he gets those easy chances.
Tongue-in-cheek, obviously, Frank. You know, he hasn't turned rubbish overnight. However, if Jules is right about psychologically, it's on his mind, maybe he just wants to get it done. This isn't great, is it, for the future? If you can't score against Hoffenheim or Paderborn because you're worrying about this move, it doesn't bode well for the big games.
I know where you want to go, but I can understand, and I want to find him some excuses about the fact that he's overstressed, maybe a little bit overwhelmed by a soon decision of moving from his club and his country to a new championship. And the world was talking about him in sport-wise, where nobody was transferring somebody also. It was the only one. And we talked all week long about Timo Werner going to Chelsea. So I guess he felt a little bit of pressure, and it's a bit normal that you don't know where you stand at some point. And the result is average games, average performance, and also showing that he needs to improve, as Jules said. The fact that he's wasting a lot of chances, and he's not a top scorer, and he still need a progression on that matter. But I'm not worried about that. He's going to work hard. He's going to be tuned in when he's going to go to Chelsea. And I'm pretty sure that he's going to improve his game of finishing actions. And he's going to do well for the club.
It's strange because we're talking about Chelsea as if the season is already finished. Obviously, still a long way to go for the end of the Premier League, which recommences this week, Jules. But let's have a look, shall we? Let's speculate about how they could set up at the start of next season. We already know that Hakim Ziyech is going to come in. That is a done deal. Werner as well. So how will they fit around the current players?
It's an interesting debate already, although it's hard to tell because one, Lampard has so many options and he can play in so many different ways. And two, I think he will really use his versatility next season when he will adapt to the opposition, depending if they're home or away. All that kind of things will come into consideration. But if you think about it, and what we know for sure is that ideally he would like to play both Tammy Abraham and Timo Werner together. So they can play with Werner a bit on the left-hand side, or they can play a bit like what we see with Leipzig regularly, with Yusuf Poulsen playing as a number 9 and as this sort of the anchor, if you want, and Timo Werner playing as a second striker. And I believe, and I'm sure a lot of people agree as well, that that's probably Werner's best position. Yes, of course he can play wide and he can play on his own up front, but playing off someone who could hold the ball up better than him, maybe, who could use his presence, with Werner then adding the pace and his intelligence in the runs. I think for me that's Werner's best position. Of course, you can't always play with 2 up front, especially in the Premier League, but there will be some games where Lampard would fancy doing that. There will be games where Werner will come off the left-hand side, for example, in a 4-3-3 formation. But I really think that Werner behind Abraham is the way to go for Lampard next season.
Do you like that idea, Frank?
Yeah, it's nice and it's a possibility, but I think we don't know how it's gonna match and work the Lampard's team. And also don't forget that if you do that, if you put Werner as a 9.5 or 10, you only put Kante and Jorginho behind him, you put out Kovacic. And you put out Mount as well. So you will have to consider, psychologically how your team's going to work. And I think it can be only one position for Werner. And as Jules said again, Werner's going to go to the left. Maybe he's going to go as a striker because Abraham is not going to play maybe away from home some games because Lampard will be looking for some pace in the game and counter-attack. So yeah, many possibility. Werner has the chance that he's not stuck in one position. He can play several others, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna play lots of games because of Lampard's different tactics.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.